I want to thank those who came out to peacefully demonstrate last night, as well as the volunteers who arrived at sunrise to join our city departments in restoring our beauty to our downtown community, and the police who worked with our community members to keep things civil last night downtown, especially at Travis Park. Both the initial protest and this morning's cleanup are hallmarks of San Antonio's compassion and our resiliency. It's difficult to imagine that the destruction that was caused last night was caused by our residents. I'm sure we'll know more in the coming days, but the ugly scenes from late last night certainly didn't remind me or anyone else of our San Antonio. So today I'm issuing an amendment to the standing declaration that calls for the Alamo grounds to be closed to the public starting at 6 p.m. tonight, with an extended curfew, as you are all aware of, throughout the downtown central business district starting at 10 p.m. We all know that our city has a unique way of coming together during crisis. This moment is no different. We've rallied from worse and will be stronger as our community comes together to heal. So I do want to close with a stark reminder, though, that we're also in the middle of a global pandemic. Most of the peaceful demonstrators last night, when they couldn't keep physical distance, were masked up, and that's good. But when demonstration ended and the rogue vandalism began, it became clear that many residents were ignoring health and safety protocols, or those who were instigating were ignoring it. If you're concerned about the potential of COVID-19 exposure, please isolate yourself to some extent or call 311 or our COVID hotline, and you can reach it at 210-207-5779 to get scheduled for a test. We're testing whether or not you have symptoms. We are committed to healing injustices, so we must also protect the health and safety of our loved ones and our neighbors. To those who peacefully demonstrated yesterday, you make us proud, calling for justice to be served, and with the case of George Floyd, another unjust killing of a Black American in custody. We heard you, we see you. Our commitment to continuing and listening and start acting is real. So now I'd like to call up City Manager Eric Walsh.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo the Mayor's thanks for all the folks that came out this morning bright and early to help with the cleanup. First thing this morning, we had 30 crews, city crews, downtown, sweeping streets, clearing sidewalks, removing litter, emptying trash and recycling receptacles, working on graffiti abatement with the help of Matt Brown and the Centro team and the volunteers. We made a big dent in this as early as 9 o'clock this morning. So I really want to thank the city crews that got out there very early this morning and our partners to help clear the streets. We had 28 sites, main sites, where we had graffiti, buildings and so forth. We had damage and graffiti at La Vida, Riverwalk, a number of our parking garages, Hemisphere Park, and Visit San Antonio Visitor Center. Broken windows, graffiti, we jumped on that quickly and to rectify that. We had a number of traffic signage that was destroyed or marked up, and our public works crews have been working all day to rectify that, and will be done by the end of the day. Our preliminary assessment is that there were 39 businesses that suffered broken windows and other damage. That's a preliminary assessment, and we're still working with our downtown partners to work through that. If any businesses suffer damage, they should call the San Antonio Police Department's non-emergency line to file a report, and that telephone number is 210-207-SAPD. Again, I want to acknowledge and thank all the volunteers who pitched in to help. The Chief's going to talk a little bit about our preparation for tonight, but I want to preface it by saying that in addition to the closure by the public closure of Alamo Plaza, we will have a police presence downtown in anticipation of any other activity. Ideally, I am proud of the work that the police department did last night and the excellent job that they exercised restraint last night. The damage we incurred was minimal compared to what we've seen in other cities throughout the country, and the officers did everything they could to not agitate while trying to keep it safe, and I am thankful for that. We see plenty of video of encounters in other parts of the country that don't always work out so well, and I saw firsthand a high degree of professionalism and restraint by our police department, and I wanted to thank them for their work last night. That I'll turn it over to the chief.
Thank you, Eric. Let me pick up where Eric just left off. We didn't have one single report or complaint of excessive force last night. And considering that the amount of police officers that were out there and the level of intensity from the demonstrators and the assaults that they were doing on police officers, that's pretty remarkable, and it shows a great deal of professionalism from the San Antonio Police Department. We had last night, I think I gave you a number of arrests. I don't think it was 6, but we had a total of 6 arrests. I forget what I told you last night, but I don't think it was 6. Yesterday morning, I don't know if I mentioned this or not either, I received a call from the United States Attorney who, understanding that it's well known that people are bussed in from out of state to participate in these demonstrations, asked me to make sure that I coordinated with the FBI on any arrests of anyone out of state. So it's out there that people are being bussed in or flown in to participate in these arrests. We didn't have any of that. At least nobody that was arrested last night was from out of state. One from Uvalde, and that was about as far away as it got. The rest were from San Antonio. Tonight, the mayor's declaration is going to go a long way in giving us more staffing resources, so we don't have to keep so many officers at the Alamo should something happen. So our plans will change a little bit tonight because of that break that we've gotten about the Alamo. Our officers will be on post at 5 o'clock this evening to start moving anyone within the cordon area out. And then at 6 o'clock, that area will be free of pedestrians and vehicle traffic. And we will be able to devote our attention elsewhere. We took a lot of resources up last night standing at the Alamo with, in that standoff at the Alamo with the protesters. We will have nearly as many resources out there tonight as we did last night. And again, we'll be prepared should anything happen. We'll make a few adjustments to the plan based on things that we saw last night. But other than that, we are set to go for tonight should anything happen.
Yesterday you mentioned that the PD's role will strictly be...
I'm sorry, say what again?
Yesterday you mentioned that the police department's role would be to stay out of sight and you all would only be used if needed. Will you all have that? Would you be sending that same message to your officers tonight, or what will be the approach when it comes to the agitators that may come out tonight?
We don't stay out of sight for the agitators. If there's a peaceful protest, we don't go near them unless we're called to protect them from counter-protesters or to make sure they're safe from traffic should they decide to march. Just as we did last night. But if the agitators show up, it's not our intention to stay out of sight. I want them to know that we're there. I want them to know that we're there in force and that we'll take the action that we need to take if they start destroying property and injuring people or whatever.
Were you really surprised by the damage that happened last night? San Antonio's had a lot of hearty celebrations where in other cities you see people turning things over, causing damage for celebratory reasons. We've had several Spurs championships. That's never happened here. Were you surprised by, we've had instances of demonstrations like this before, but this is the first time this has ever really happened with a demonstration?
Under other circumstances, I would say yes, I was surprised, but I'm not because of what happened in Minneapolis. What happened in Minneapolis is one of the most egregious things that I've seen in my years of policing. And it wasn't surprising last night, the level of frustration as shown by the number of people that showed up. So no, I was not surprised at all, and we anticipated that there was going to be some chaos. I'll tell you what's frustrating. When we have a good relationship with the community, and here in San Antonio, I mean, you always hear us say it, we have a good relationship with the community. You hear the community say they got a good relationship with the public. It's frustrating to the multitude of officers who go out there and do a good job every single day, and they get cast into that same bad light as those officers up in Minneapolis. So it's frustrating in that regard because it sets us all back, and we've got to kind of recalibrate now and gain that back. But I mean, we're out there every single day working with the public. Our SAFE officers are working with neighborhood association presidents and a multitude of other community organizations. And so whatever damage that caused, you know, we'll make it up here. We've been conspicuously absent from our proactive work in the community because of the COVID thing. And I think people feel that, people notice that. I've heard it, I felt it myself. I feel that there's an information void out there that we need to fill pretty quickly before people start coming to their own conclusions about whatever it may be, crime numbers or what have you. So, you know, we'll go back to work just like we always have and try to make up the ground that we've lost because of the Floyd incident the Floyd murder in Minneapolis.
Message that you would send to other business owners who are in that downtown area who may not have suffered damage, what message would you send to them just to reassure them that you all will be out there and looking out for the rest of the
Sure.
businesses in the downtown?
The message will be the visibility that they'll see tonight, because we're going to have a lot of police officers downtown. They will see it, and hopefully we won't have to use them like we did last night, and we can just patrol heavily downtown, but they'll see us out there.
You said the role of the police department in these protests is to basically protect the protesters from counter-protesters, but there was criticism yesterday when there were several officers surrounding the cenotaph facing outward towards the protesters rather than facing the armed counter-protesters that were there. Why are they facing towards the unarmed protesters and not the armed protesters?
Let me tell you exactly why that happened. The people who were at the Alamo were mostly, in large part, the agitators. They were the ones that stayed for the rest of the night. They were the ones that we had to gas to get them to leave and to stop their agitation. So when they gathered there, they were the ones that were threatening, pushing toward the Texas Freedom Force people. We talked the Texas Freedom Force people into leaving to calm that down, but that was the reason why they were facing the street, because they were the ones that were advancing for no other reason. And they were not the peaceful protesters. They were the ones that were throwing rocks and bottles and bricks at the police officers. At that very location, we had 2 officers injured, hit in the head with bottles. So, and let me tell you this, and I'm speaking from my heart here. For it to be a criticism that the police officers are facing in one direction rather than the other, it, to me, is silly. Those officers, had they had their backs to that crowd, would have put themselves in jeopardy. So the officers face whatever way they need to face, where the intimidation is coming from, where the threat is coming from. And that's